Hi, I'm going to talk about the RTC and Modbus over Ethernet VFDs, in particular the AutomationDirect DuraPulse GS20 VFD. And in this second part, we're going to talk about what needs to be set up on the RTC. And going into this, we've already set up a VFD, and it's on our network, and it's at IP address 192.168.1.31. So what we'll do is we'll go to a browser, and we'll go to the RTC's IP address, which is always 192.168.1.80, and we'll sign in with our credentials. Now, everything to do with Modbus over Ethernet VFDs is under the System Setup menu. But before I go there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just set up a run signal, or just name a run signal. The run signal is a connection, an output on the RTC on one of the I/O nodes connected to an input on the VFD. So we'll go here and we'll just pick node 2, input 1. And in this example, we'll say we're setting up a VFD for a top brush. So I'll call this top brush VFD run signal. And I'll fix my typo. Oops. And then I'll hit submit. Now I'll go to Modbus over Ethernet VFDs. I've got none on my list right now, so I'll add a new one. And the first thing I need to do is pick what type it is. And I'll give it the same IP address that we talked about, 192.168.1.31. I'll give it a name, which is optional, but it'll make things a lot clearer, especially if you come back 3 years later and you need to know what's going on. And I'll assign a run signal. And basically the way the run signal works is even if the RTC tells the VFD to run on a certain frequency, it won't do anything unless this run signal is on. And I'll click submit. And then it will require a reboot of the RTC. So I'll click yes, and I'll wait for it to reboot. And while it's rebooting, I'll talk again a bit more about the run signal and why that's important. And it's important for a situation where if the RTC had told a VFD to run at a certain frequency, it's spinning a top brush or some other brushes, everything's running, and something catastrophic happened to the RTC. Like the software crashed, it lost power, the computer just died, someone smashed a ladder through it. The RTC at this point, it cannot tell the VFD to shut down. The VFD will just keep running and spinning. And we can see why that's a safety issue. So the I/O nodes can detect if the RTC is offline or has died. And in that case, the I/O nodes will shut down every single one of their outputs. So in this case, the I/O node would see the RTC is dead, shut down all the outputs, which one of them was a run signal to the VFD, and the VFD will stop running. And it's just another level of safety. So my RTC is rebooted. So I will sign in. If I go to my Modbus over VFDs, I can see now there's one on my list. And I can click on the IP address, and I can change any of these settings if I want to. And we can see, oh, we don't want that. VFD. And in this case, it doesn't require a reboot. The Add Multiple button is if you wanted to add a bunch of VFDs without having to reboot each time. As if, right at the start, you're setting it up for the first time, you've got 8 VFDs in the panel, you don't want to go through and reboot it 8 times. So what this will do is we'll add 8 VFDs with just blank settings. And then after that one reboot, you can go in and modify those settings without having to reboot so many times. And now you're ready to go. In the next video, I'll talk about assigning this VFD to a piece of equipment. Thanks very much.